One of my clients asked me recently, Adam, how do I get purpose in the world? How do I find myself? And I sort of laughed and I said, through suffering. That wasn't the answer he wanted to hear, but the reality is, suffering is the iron crucible. It's the tests that make us greater. That's the story of the hero. That's the story that we're all attached to. Why do we love sports? Why do we love stories with character development? Because the suffering, the fall, is what makes us greater. It gives you a purpose. Hey everyone, this is Adam Law with a new video for Wanderings. Today's awesome topic is called, Why Being Born Rich is the Worst Thing for You. People with a lot of money don't know how to raise their kids right. And people who are born with money generally end up as some of the most screwed up people I've seen. An example, I grew up in a relatively wealthy neighborhood in Tucson, Arizona, up in the foothills. Very nice neighborhood. We didn't have a high school at the time. So what they used to do was they used to ship us down to all the different schools. But then later on, probably by my junior year, they opened up a high school in Catalina Foothills. One thing that was very interesting is the kids at the Catalina Foothills High School, they had way bigger problems. There's all sorts of serious drug problems, fentanyl overdoses, ridiculous problems. Whereas I went to basically an inner city high school called Amphi, and it was an all-American type high school. And the kids there had regular problems. Yeah, we had problems. We had some gangs, stuff like that. But generally, the kids were actually more balanced. Why is it that we see that people who are born rich oftentimes suck? Why do they have lives that, even though it looks awesome when you look and see them on TikTok, really oftentimes live lives that are not enviable? We're going to explore that topic today. And of course, if you like my stuff, please like, subscribe, comment, blah, blah, blah. I always appreciate your support. So let's get right into the topic. I'll go to another story. I knew a man and a woman that got married. And things didn't work out for them and they basically got divorced. The woman left the country she was living in and she moved back to her home country. There was a child involved. And the woman came from a wealthy background. The man came from, I'd say, an upper middle class background. But the family values were very different between these two families. Whereas the lady basically got everything handed to her. She got a house. She got all these things given to her. She never really had to take responsibility other than a minimal amount of work. The guy had to struggle. He had to work hard. He had to fight against all the odds to make it in a new country. He had just enough parental support to get by, but he had to make it. And through that suffering, he became a much greater person than he ever possibly could have been. And the lady, she really never maximized and became the person she could possibly be. Because why did she have to? She didn't need to. As soon as something went awry, her family came in to rescue her. I saw another similar situation with a couple that were breaking up and they also had a kid. And the woman didn't have that much money. And what happened? She couldn't afford to go to court, make a big battle. She didn't have all that parental support. And the family stuck together. And today they have 5 children in this family, and they stuck together. Why? What was the difference between the two? Bad parenting and lots of money. The first lady didn't really need to change. Why did she need to change? She could continue acting badly because her parents were just going to throw the money at the problem. She really hasn't taken responsibility for herself. The second lady, she saw suffering, but she grew. She grew from the situation. So we see here that money, having a lot of money, throwing money at a problem, does not lead to the greatest qualities a person can have, which is self-sufficiency, humility, knowing that hard work builds wonderful things in the world. Right? There's this idea of, we see this thing, a character called a fop. Basically this kind of like rich guy who really does nothing. You see that people who have a lot of money don't really have a life purpose. For men, the purpose in life is making a dent out of the universe, going and conquering the world the best they can do. And they're going to fall, they're going to make those mistakes. But those mistakes make them greater. One of my clients asked me recently, who also comes from a very wealthy family, Adam, how do I get purpose in the world? How do I find myself? And I sort of laughed and I said, through suffering. That wasn't the answer he wanted to hear, but the reality is, suffering is the iron crucible. It's the tests that make us greater. That's the story of the hero. That's the story that we're all attached to. Why do we love sports? Why do we love stories with character development? Because the suffering, the fall, is what makes us greater. It gives you a purpose. That's why so many traditional cultures, as a man comes of age, and female too oftentimes, they have these initiation ceremonies, these quests. Send them out into the wilderness to go hunt a wolf or, survive for a week or whatever. There's even been a movement among modern therapy methods called wilderness therapy or a vision quest. It's a great concept that sending somebody out into the woods for 3 days, maybe you're fasting, to get to know oneself, to fight against one's demons. One needs to experience difficulty and hardship in life to become better people, to grow. And if you have everything just handed at you, if you have everything just handed to you, that's not going to happen. One of my best friends growing up died about 6 months ago. And this was one of his problems. He had a number of problems, but one of his problems was he was just a trust fund baby. He had so much money, and he had no purpose in his life because of this. It's like, why didn't he get a job? I have a house. I have money. I have all these things coming in. Why do I need to grow? Instead, he drank and used drugs until they found him dead. And he was one of my best friends growing up. And it was really sad to see this. But money does not solve the problems of purpose in life. Only life experience, hardship, can solve your purpose in life. And the people that I see, they're the people that I want to be close to, are the people who have suffered, the people who have gone through those experiences. Those are the people I can connect to. I don't like to spend time with, Ned Flanders type people.
Oakley dokley.
I want to spend time with people who have been through the trenches, who have battled it out. That's why athletes and war veterans are the closest of brothers, because they experience the most difficult challenges in the world, and together they fight past them. And that's what makes you a man. That's what makes you a good human. It's the same for women too. The suffering, having to experience something and solve things with our own reasoning, our own resources, is what's going to make you a great person. It's going to give you humility. It's going to give you strength. It's going to give you blessing. And it's going to give you a sense of why you live in the world. You're going to view other people and with respect if they deserve respect. When you have money, sometimes you view other people as instrumentally, right? What can they do for me? What value are they? That person has no value because they're not rich like me, or they don't have the resources like me. The true great person respects others for what they've accomplished, despite their circumstances, right? That is what matters. Pulling yourself up from your bootstraps. The Torah, the Hebrew Bible, has the greatest lessons in the world. And actually, if we look at the very beginning of the Torah, you see there's Adam and Eve. They're in this Garden of Eden, and everything is given to them. Everything is given to them. They have these amazing trees with this amazing fruit. They have the wisdom. They have closeness to God. They have relationship with animals. Everything has light and life. But there's one thing they're told not to do. Don't eat from this tree. And of course they do. Why? Because every person, if you don't have suffering and troubles in your life, you'll go and look for them, right? That's what makes life interesting. It wasn't good for Adam and Eve just to have a blissful, rich experience than that. The whole Torah, the Bible, which is speaking about the human condition, is talking about this fall because it's letting you know that that ideal condition is only a heavenly condition. It's only a next world condition. The fall of Adam and Eve was a good thing because it taught us what the real existence of life is about. If you have everything given to you, you're going to create problems. Like I spoke about that high school, right? The rich high school, Catalina Foothills High School. Those are the kids with the big problems. The inner city kids, those kids were able to develop some sense of purpose and connection. And most of my friends there went on to living great lives. It's the kids with everything given to them that those are the ones that suffer. So back to the Garden of Eden story. After Adam and Eve created trouble for themselves because everything was given to them and they ate from the tree, they were exiled from the garden. What does God say to them? He says, by the sweat of your brow you shall eat bread. Well, this sounds like a curse. It's actually the biggest blessing. It's saying, no longer are you going to have everything given to you for free. You're not going to have that amazing bliss. You're going to suffer. Only by your sweat will you eat bread. Only by that. I know myself at the end of a day, if I haven't worked hard that day, if I haven't gone to the gym, if I haven't taken care of business that day, I don't feel good by the end of the day. And if I wake up in the morning with something to do of value, I feel great that day. It powers me, energizes me. By the sweat of your brow, you shall eat bread. That is the story of human existence. It doesn't say all your bread should be given to you for free. A person only finds humility, finds purpose, finds greatness through the challenge, through the story of the human condition, through suffering. So you may ask yourself, okay, I'm a parent, I have money, so how do I educate my children then? What is the way to properly give money to children, right? So there's 3 ways, 2 of which are wrong and 1 which is correct, the middle path, of course. The wrong way, as the whole video was about, is just to give them everything without doing anything. Just spoil them, spoil them, spoil them. That's the wrong way. That leads to kids with problems, with drugs, with meaning. They will look for problems. They have too much free time. Idleness leads to sin, so to speak, right? The opposite problem is if you don't give your kids anything, if you're stingy. You have to give your kids from your best as you would eat. If you eat steak, you have to give your kids steak. So you can't give them nothing. If you give them nothing and you eat well and they don't, and you let them just go off into the streets, then your kids are going to resent you and they're going to hate you. And that resentment can lead to all sorts of other problems. So what's the correct path? The middle path. The middle path is teaching your kids self-reliance. The whole give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. Teach your kids to be self-reliant, to succeed, to find what they're good at in life and achieve it. Give them good things when they're young, but don't give them too much. Teach them to do it on their own, to get a job, to go out there and take responsibility. Don't meddle, don't interfere with their affairs, don't interfere with their marriages, right? As we see in Godfather.
They're arguing again. Connie and Carlo are constantly arguing.
Water fountain lately. She's always crying. I'm going to talk to this brother.
Sit down. Sit down. You never interfere between the man and the woman. Sit down.
Let them do it on their own. Yes, if they are in a very difficult situation, help them out. Help them out, of course, let them survive. But the one time where you do need to give them is when they've achieved something. The time to give them that house, the time to give them that car is when they've done successful. That's when you give it to them. You don't give them the house because they just got divorced. You don't give them the house because they failed. You give them the house, you give them the money because they've achieved something. Because that's going to show them that their achievement is valuable to you and is going to encourage them to do more. That's the middle path. Give them what you can give them when they have already achieved something on their own. And that's the middle path. That's the proper way to educate and to give money to your children. So thanks for coming along. This is Adam Law with Wanderings. As always, please like, subscribe, etc. As you know, I'm a psychotherapist, a coach, and I'm available for meeting. My information is below. Check out my new website. Take care. Have a great day.